Welcome back to my channel and to my February TBR. So the first book that I'm planning to read during February is the next Stephen King on the list, and that is Misery. I have actually read this a few times and it's one of my favourites. I have talked about this before on the channel. I read this in 2021 and I talked about it in one of my first videos where I talked about 5 Stephen Kings that I had read in 2021 before I had a YouTube channel. But I also read it before I started reading Stephen King books in chronological order. So now that it has come up in the order, I'm obviously reading it again. And I'm also kind of hoping that it will just give me an excuse to watch the film again, because I also love that. So then the next book I'm planning to read is non-fiction, and Death's Acre by Bill Bass and John Jefferson. And this is about the world's one and only body farm, which is in Mississippi in the US. And I'm really excited to read this one because it's kind of a subject that's really interesting, fascinating. So looking forward to reading that. I then decided that I wanted to start a new crime thriller series, and I looked at the ones on my shelves, and I have picked the Lincoln Rhyme series by Jeffrey Deaver, and the first book is The Bone Collector. Now, I have read this one before. I read this not long after it first came out, which was in 1997. There was a film starring Denzel Washington and Angelina Jolie. And to be honest, I don't actually remember very much about the book. I remember that there were some big plot point differences between the book and the film, and character name changes, and the killer was different. But otherwise I don't remember a huge amount about this. And even though I own most of the series, this is the only one that I've actually read before. So I'm looking forward to starting this series, reading this book again. So starting a new series, I was looking at the books on my shelves and I realised that I do own a fair few that are the first books in a series. So what I have decided to do for the theme in February is to read a bunch of first books, as I'm going to call them, and then decide which series I'm actually planning to continue with. So any books that I don't enjoy, give sort of less than 3 stars to, I'm going to just unhaul that first book and not bother with the rest of the series. Any books that I really enjoy and give more than 4 stars to, then I will potentially go on and continue the series. But I'm using it as a way of possibly getting rid of some books on my shelves, but also just deciding whether or not I actually want to keep the beginning of series and whether I want to continue with them, if that makes sense. So the first book on that TBR following that theme is Carved in Bone by Jefferson Bass, and this is the pseudonym of Bill Bass and John Jefferson, who wrote Death's Acre, which is the non-fiction that I'm planning to read for this month. So this is the first book in the Body Farm series following Dr. Bill Brockton. I have not read this before. I don't know very much about the series. I'm assuming that as I read Death's Acre, the non-fiction, it's going to give me a bit of an idea about some of the themes, some of the scenes and ideas that might crop up in the fictional series. But I'm looking forward to that. So the next book is The Death Artist by Jonathan Sandlofer, and this is the first book in the Kate McKinnon series. I have read this one before, but it was a long time ago and I don't remember a huge amount about it. The next book I have is The Rosary Girls by Richard Montanari, and this is the first book in the Byrne and Bolzano series. Again, a pair of detectives. I have not read this. I have not read any of the series, so looking forward to that. So the next book, I do actually have the whole series. My mum actually owned these and gave them to me. And the first book is Flowers in the Attic by Virginia Andrews. I read this a very, very long time ago when my mum first gave them to me. And I do remember that they are pretty messed up. But I haven't read the rest of the series, so that will be interesting. The next book is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. Everybody's been going on about this for so long, but I am really looking forward to hopefully getting to read it. It's a very different theme to the rest of the books on this video. It's much more sort of cosy mystery rather than really brutal serial killer, horrifying murders. But hopefully that one will be a bit fun. So the next one is The Defence by Steve Kavanagh, and this is the first book in the Eddie Flynn series. I actually picked this book up from a charity shop, but I have heard a lot about it and it does sound really interesting. So I am hopefully gonna get to this one at some point this month, because from what I've heard of other people, it sounds really, really good. And then the final book that I have picked up is The Cuckoo's Calling by Robert Galbraith, who is the pseudonym of J.K. Rowling when she writes crime fiction. And this is the first book in the Cormorant Strike series. Now, I have seen the TV series Strike and absolutely loved it. Haven't read any of the books though, so I'm really interested to see what they're like, what she's like as a writer. I am quite open in saying that I did not enjoy Harry Potter. I read the first book and thought it was rubbish. But crime fiction is a very different style of writing. It's a very different genre, and I know that she deliberately changed her style of writing for this series. So I'm looking forward to getting into this one, hopefully, and seeing what it's like, and seeing the similarities and differences between the TV series, because I absolutely loved watching that. So that is today's video. It's not a very long one. It's just a quick one to go through the books that I'm planning on reading in February. Let me know what you're planning on reading. Let me know what you're enjoying at the moment. And I will see you in another video soon. Bye.